What's going on, guys? It's Greg here. I just wanted to do a quick video about carrying restraints and having restraints on your person in a bug out situation, and keeping some handy in your bug out location or in your home if you're gonna be bugging in. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about some type of restraint. Typically they're called Flexcuffs. They're just a giant zip tie. So I'll show you the one that I got here. This is Monadnock spare cuff restraints. It's made by Safariland, so it's definitely a good quality. It's basically just a giant zip tie. It looks like this. This is probably about half-inch thick, and you just put it in like this, and it just works like a zip tie. And what you do is you can handcuff somebody with this, you definitely want to have some kind of restraints with you in a bug out situation, or a get home situation where you have to get home from your job. Let's say you live far away from your job, and you work in a big city, or there's potential areas where you could run into people that may try to harm you or harm someone else. It's good to have some of these flex cuffs, just in case you have to detain somebody trying to harm you or harm someone else. You may have to use these to keep that person from harming you or harming another person further, to basically restrain them. So especially in a bug out situation post SHTF, there's going to be a lot of dangerous people out there. There's going to be a lot of criminals, and they may you may have to travel through areas that have dangerous people in them. If you're trying to get home, or if you're bugging out on foot and you have to, let's say, walk through a big city or some bad neighborhoods, you may encounter people that are going to try to attack you and take your stuff, or rob you, whatever. You may encounter somebody who's, trying to harm another person. It could be an assault, it could be, rape, robbery, whatever. And having one, these flex cuffs will give you the ability to control that person, if you do decide to intervene, and help someone else, then you can detain that person with these flex cuffs. Now obviously you can also get regular handcuffs, but what makes the flex cuffs really useful is that they're very lightweight and they're very versatile. So you can use this for standard like handcuffing somebody around the wrist. You can also daisy chain these together, and I'll show you. They have a picture here. You can daisy chain a couple of these together, and then you can make these bigger. You can use these for people's ankles, versus if you have regular steel handcuffs. You need to have the right size if you want to put them around someone's ankles. But with these, these are quite big, so you can pretty much fit someone's ankles across their ankles and put this around them, and you've pretty much you're putting that person under your control. These particular flex cuffs, they have like a 500-pound breaking strength, and they are plastic, so they're not super durable. If you need to do like some kind of long-term detention of somebody, then you would want something metal. But for like a short-term detention where you have to bring someone under control because they're harming you, or they're harming your family, or they potentially could harm you or your family, or potentially be harming someone else, this is much more useful because it's easy to use. You don't, handcuffs can be a little more tricky, and it's not as straightforward, versus these. You can just you can keep these in your bug out bag, and obviously you want to have them somewhere on the outside of your pack so you can get to them easily. And you can actually even, have them pretty much already slip through, so then you don't have to worry about putting it through and stuff like that. You just slide someone's wrists through this and just pull it tight, and you can daisy chain them together, so that makes it more versatile than steel. But and then obviously if you keep these around your house, it's useful too, because if, let's say, somebody tries to break in, and especially during an SHTF situation, there may be people trying to, loot your house or commit crimes or whatever, and you may have to detain them and hold them until the police show up. So that's where this is handy. Same thing with like get home situations, a little different, but also your bug out location. If somebody's trying to break into your house or cause harm to you, if you keep some of these around, you can detain that person and hold them until the police show up, or at the very least, you can bring them under control so they're not using their hands to harm you. And also, you should research your state. Every state has different laws. Like in my state, New York, you can perform a citizen's arrest on somebody as long as they're in process of committing a felony, or you think that they're going to commit a felony. Then you can do a citizen's arrest to detain that person legally, without being possibly arrested for false imprisonment or something like that. So like a felony would be like rape, some type of high degree of assault, robbery, things like that, murder. You can lawfully in New York State perform a citizen's arrest, and also if somebody's trying to steal things from you, if they're trying to commit a burglary, you can legally use these. But again, check your state law. Every state is different. I don't want you guys to get in trouble. I don't want to create more work for law enforcement, but it's always good to keep some of these around, especially whether it's SHTF or even rule of law. If you have a home invasion, this could be potentially useful. If you have to, if you get into a struggle with somebody, let's say you can't get to your firearm and you have to physically, you're fighting for your life or whatever, having one of these is useful because you can detain that person and keep them under control. And I'll just share some personal experiences with you guys working in security, how having some of these is really useful. And I'll just show you the pictures here that they have on this, the instructions. So what you're supposed to do is cross the wrists and then zip tie them that way. And also same thing with the ankles. You always want to cross first before you zip tie. And then you can also daisy chain them together. If you need longer ones, like here's an example, if let's say you have somebody who's unusually large, let's say their wrists are really big, or their legs or whatever, you can daisy chain them together, and that will help you bring that person under control. So it's pretty straightforward, and it's lightweight. It's much lighter to carry than handcuffs. It's very simple. You don't need any special training really. The big thing is that you don't want to put these on too tight and damage someone's tissues, or cut off their circulation. You just want it to be tight enough where you have that person under control. They can't do anything with their hands, but you don't want to make it so tight that you're cutting off their circulation or, you know, damaging their tissue. So, you know, you just want to make sure you're aware of that, because you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to harm someone and unnecessarily, or, you know, go to prison, you know, trying to defend yourself. So, you know, just be aware. You can even practice with some friends, you know, practice, you know, using these, and practice, you know, trying to get out of them, stuff like that. So, you know, so like my personal experiences I can share with you is, you know, I worked in security as a bouncer for a couple of years, you know, many years, and also I did some loss prevention work, and, you know, especially working as a bouncer, there's times where I wish I had these on me, because, you know, there were cases where there was people that were really just out of control. You know, some people, like, you would not believe how dangerous some people can be, you know, once they really lose it, or if they're really just, you know, have that criminal mentality where they don't care about other people. And, you know, and then you also have the mob effect. You know, if you have like a group of people, you know, they feel safer in a group, and typically they're more likely to attack you, or they're more likely to do a higher level of violence against someone because they're in a group. So they feel that they can get away with it, or sometimes they feel like pressured to be violent by their peers. So, you know, like as a bouncer, there were many times where I had to deal with like a really violent person, and pretty much the only thing, we didn't have these on us. So, you know, what I would do, or what, you know, my coworkers would do, is we would have to hold that person down on the ground and, you know, wait for the police to show up, because, you know, we were afraid that if we just let that guy go, you know, he would continue to attack us, and, you know, potentially use a weapon against us, and, you know, potentially harm other people, you know. So you would be surprised how dangerous people can be when they're really crazy, and they, you know, and if there's people that have already been in and out of jail, you know, they're pretty much they're desensitized to violence. They, you know, they don't look at violence the way that we do. You know, they, to them, violence, they don't even think twice about harming someone else, or, you know, assaulting someone or whatever. They don't really think twice about it, you know, versus a normal person. You know, you always have that, you know, hesitation that, you know, you don't want to harm someone. So, you know, it can really be a dangerous situation when you have someone that's really crazy and violent like that, and if you have no way of bringing them under control, you know, it could potentially be dangerous, especially if they have a weapon. You know, even like a smaller person. Like, I've had a situation happen to me where, you know, I worked at a bar, and there was a guy that was only like, you know, 170 pounds, 160 pounds. He was really skinny, really small, and you'd be surprised at how hard it is to control someone when they're really going crazy, even when they're smaller like that, especially if they have like a knife in their hand or some type of a weapon. You know, it's always nice to have this ability to, you know, detain that person and hold them until the police show up. So I definitely recommend, you know, you guys get yourself these. They're not that expensive. The Monadnock spare cuff restraints, but, you know, really any brand will do. So I just wanted to make this video quickly, and I definitely going to be making a lot more videos soon. I want to talk about animals after SHTF, and the danger that, you know, wild animals could pose to you if you're trying to bug out on foot, or get home from your job. You know, there's a lot of animals, you know, that may potentially harm you even worse than people will, especially if you have to cross through any type of wooded areas or wilderness areas. And I think that a lot of preppers, they focus so much on the people aspect, and how people are going to be very dangerous, and they're really worried about people. But there's also wild animals that you have to worry about. And in a SHTF situation, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be trying to flee the city, or they're going to be wandering around on foot. There's going to be a lot of refugees, and that's going to potentially ring a dinner bell for a lot of predatory animals like bears, cougars, coyotes even. So you should definitely think about what kind of wild animals are in your area, and how you're going to defend against them, defend your family against them. But I'm going to do a whole separate video on that. And I'm going to do some shooting videos soon. I'm going to go to the range and test out some bear ammunition that I have from my 44 Magnum. So hopefully you guys can check that one out. And I'm going to do maybe some penetration tests with the hard cast, 300 grain hard cast. I want to see what kind of real world penetration that bullet has out of a 44 Magnum through wood and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it, guys. Have a great day. Have a great Sunday. Take care. God bless, and I'll see you soon.